Hello, and this is going to be the Mexican Revolution, and we're going to split this up into 5 groups. And the first one is going to be Santiago, and he's going to do the causes of the Mexican Revolution. After that, it's going to be Kip with the main events, and then Audrey and Bailey are going to split up with the main people. And I'm going to come back later at the end of the presentation. I'm going to do the results.
Hello, my name is Santiago, and I'll be talking about the causes of the Mexican Revolution. First off is that the church called in loans and mortgages, leading to financial crisis. And then next I'm going to be talking about Napoleon and his invasion of Spain, which led outbreak and revolts all across Spanish America. Um, After he did that, the government collapsed, and then Spanish lost control of his colonies, which led the Mexican to take advantage of that and fight for their independence. And then the next thing is Spanish tyranny, which I will be talking about in the next slide. These are the causes continued of this Spanish Revolution, and I'm gonna start off with Spanish tyranny, and then Spanish increased the taxes on goods and everything, and the Mexicans weren't happy with all the taxation they did, which and they weren't happy because they didn't have the same point of view as the king of of Spain, and then
Alright, I'm Kip, and I'm doing the main events of the Mexican Revolution. Start off, we're in early 1811, the Mexican independence. Fighters, Miguel Hidalgo and Ignacio Allende, were in a stalemate with Spanish and Royalist authorities. The insurgent army had won victories in Guanajuato and Monte de la Cruces, but was being chased around by Mexican by the better trained and equipped Royalist army of General Felix Calleja. A full-scale clash was inevitable. They couldn't get away from it, and Hidalgo and Allende, occupying the city of Guadalajara, got to pick the battlefield. They would make a stand at the Calderon Bridge, which led into the city. Allende set the rebel defenses he deployed around the bridge, with some reserves left behind in case something bad went wrong. He put his cavalry under the command of Mariano Abasolo. Other than members, Allende's big advantage was in his artillery. He had some 95 cannons which he deployed on the hillside behind the defenders during their wait in Guadalajara. The rebels had even fashioned rockets with sharp metal tips to use in the battle. Calleja attacked the fortified rebels on January 17, 1811, without waiting for reinforcements, as he had agreed to in his meetings with the fellow officers. He divided up his force into three main elements: cavalry, which would attack the insurgent left, a mixed force of cavalry and infantry to attack the right flank, and the main infantry would attack the rebel center. The two armies fought to a stalemate. The Royalists were well trained and armed, but outnumbered as many as 15 to 1. Among the Spanish casualties was Count Flan, shot down as he led an attack. Now the Battle of Monte de la Cruz. In October 10, a ragged and undisciplined but massive army under the command of Father Miguel Hidalgo and Ignacio Allende made its way towards Mexico City. This army was little more than a mob of Mexicans angry after centuries of abuses by the Spanish, and had recently whetted its appetite for plunder by sacking the city of Guanajuato. The viceroy and Spanish officers and bureaucrats were terrified and rounded up whatever forces were at hand to try and defeat them before they reached Mexico City. The rebel army and royalist force under Torquato Trujillo met at Monte de la Cruces on October 30th, 1810. Monte de la Cruces, or Mount of the Crosses, was where bandits were crucified on a large hill west of the city. Trujillo picked the spot as good as a place to set a defense, trusting the mob would attack him at the place of his choosing. Monte de la Cruces. It's a steep hill covered with pines. Trujillo had received his orders from the viceroy himself, telling him basically to defend the entrance to the city to the last man to buy him for the army of Potosi under General Cahiha to arrive. One of the officers in Trujilla's force was promising young lieutenant named Agustin de Iturbide. On October 30th, 1810, the battle was joined between Trujilla and his small force and the massive mob. Some estimates put the insurgent army at 80,000 men and women on the slopes of Monte de la Cruces. The battle raged all day with the disciplined, well-armed soldiers of Trujilla holding their own against overwhelming numbers. The first two assaults were driven back, but late in the afternoon, a third assault managed to capture the artillery and surround the Royalist forces, who were barely able to break out and make their way back to Mexico City. The sheer numbers of the attackers had proven too much. Now for the siege of Guanajuato. Hidalgo's horde arrived on September 28th and was quickly joined by many miners and workers of Guanajuato. They laid siege to the granary where Royalist officers and Spaniards fought for their lives and those of the families. The attackers charged a massive, taking heavy casualties. Hidalgo ordered some of his men to nearby rooftops where they threw stones at the defenders and onto the roof of the granary, which eventually collapsed over the weight. There were only some 400 defenders, and although they were dug in, they could not win against such odds.
My name is Bailey,
And I'm Audrey.
and we're going to talk about the main people involved in the Mexican Revolution. First, Miguel Hidalgo started Mexico's struggle for independence. He also led the movement for almost a year. When he issued Cry of Dolores, Hidalgo was in Dolores with other leaders of the conspiracy, including military commander Ignacio Allende, when word came to them that the conspiracy had been found out. Needing to move immediately, Hidalgo rang the church bells on the morning of the 16th, calling in all of the locals who happened to be on the market that day. From the pulpit, he announced his intention to strike for independence and encouraged the people of Dolores to join him. Most did. Hidalgo had an army of 600 men within minutes. This became known as the Cry of Dolores. Another person was Ignacio Allende. He was a Mexican-born officer in the Spanish army who switched sides and fought for independence. He fought in the early part of the conflict alongside the father of Mexican independence, Miguel Hidalgo. Although Allende and Hidalgo had some early success against the Spanish colonial forces, both were eventually captured and executed in June and July of 1811. The next person was Jose Maria Morelos. He was a revolutionary priest who assumed leadership of the Mexican independence movement and was in overall military command of the movement before he was captured. Early in 1811, he joined Miguel Hidalgo's revolution, and after Hidalgo's death, took command of the movement in southern Mexico. Between 1812 and 1815, he controlled most of Mexico, southwest of Mexico City. He is considered one of the greatest heroes of Mexico.
The next person was Agustin Ibarguen. He was a Spanish general who changed sides and supported the rebels to gain Mexican independence. He then became the leader of the conservative factions in the Mexican independence movement. Like many young men of the upper class in Spanish America, Ibarguen entered the Royalist army, becoming an officer in the provincial regiment of his native city in 1797. In 1810, Miguel Hidalgo offered him a post with his revolutionary army, but Ibarguen refused and pledged himself to the Spanish cause instead. His defense of Valladolid against the revolutionary forces of Jose Morelos dealt a crushing blow to the insurgents. And for this victory, Ibarguen was given command of the military district. In 1816, however, grave charges of extortion and violence caused his removal. Another person is Santa Anna. Santa Anna fought on the Spanish side in the Mexican War of Independence, although he could tell a lost cause when he saw one, and switched sides in 1821 with Agustin Ibarguen, who rewarded him with a promotion to general. He was then elected president during very turbulent times. The next person is Vincent Guerrero. He began his military career in 1810, and soon the early Mexican independence leader Jose Morelos commissioned him to promote the revolutionary movement in southwestern Mexico. After Morelos' execution by the Spanish in 1815, Guerrero continued to lead his guerrilla forces against the Spanish until 1821, when he joined forces with Agustin Ibarguen, and with him issued the Plan of Iguala, which became the political platform for the conservative wing of the Mexican independence movement. The Mexican forces triumphed over the Spaniards and achieved independence for Mexico in August 1821. Guerrero continued to participate in the military and political struggles that followed the independence. And in March 1829, he attained the presidency of Mexico as a result of a successful liberal revolt against the conservative candidate who had been chosen president in the election of 1828. Lastly is Guadalupe Victoria. He was a Mexican soldier and a political leader who was the first president of the Mexican Republic. He left law school to fight in the rebellion against Spain, fighting under Jose Morelos in 1812. He also changed his name to show his devotion to the cause of Mexican independence.
Hello, my name is Brett, and you originally saw me in the intro of this video. And what I'm going to talk about now is results and changes because of the American Revolution. Now, they had their independence in 1821, and whenever they had this independence was something very interesting, is that they had an emperor, which isn't really a change of the monarchy system that they had in Spanish. And whenever this happened, some of the original Mexicans rebels that wanted something different were really angry about this. But they couldn't really do anything because the new government was already in power. Now, in around 1823, when he got kicked out of office, there were many reasons why he did this. The reason why was he wasn't really able to be self-sufficient for the country or able to make everyone on a complete side, because there were still Mexicans that wanted a different kind of state. And they really kind of wanted the U.S. side where they had a republic and a president and legislation. Now, eventually they got what they wanted, and Guadalupe Victoria came out of this, which was the first president. Now, this also resulted in more revolts, with the loyalists getting even angrier when originally they wanted to be. And whenever this happened, there was a couple of revolts, not really much. Now what I'm talking about is some of the constitutions they made. The first one was the Constitution of Apinzingan, and it was in 1814, a little bit before they had independence, and this was basically made just as like a final thing, I guess you could say, for how they kind of wanted to be when they first started off. And it kind of included emperor, but it's kind of hard to explain the constitution of this, but Intenberg, who was the original emperor, kind of took this and became emperor because of this. And whenever he got kicked out in 1824, about a couple months after Guadalupe Victoria became president, they made this new constitution, which is basically the same constitution they have today, even though it had a few edited sides of it later on. And what this basically changed the complete government completely. And what it changed was how the Republicans were of it. There's a Republican side, there's legislation, presidents, and that's basically how the today Mexico Republic is today, and their country. And this has been the Mexican Revolution PowerPoint, and I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.